Supergirl Season 2, Episode 17, Distant Sun. Now this episode, of course, starts with the recap of the Flash Supergirl crossover that they had, and the reason that was important is, of course, for people who may have skipped over the crossover because it was a big musical episode, it actually fixed what I thought was going to be a really big issue that bugged me in the last episode, which was, of course, Kara and Mon-El break up. And I was like, they already did, 3 crappy relationships, or I guess this would have been the 3rd super fast relationship, but they decided to kind of have it in the Supergirl episode, fix it in the Flash episode, so I was really happy about that. And then going into this, things were good. So, for anyone who may have skipped the Flash thing, they did a nice little recap there, and, we get to see that everything kind of worked out. They're doing bed and breakfast and stuff like that, so everything's good. And then we have, our first fight of the episode, which I actually thought was kind of cool, and Kara went out to fight, this creature that had, the laser eye patch thing going. That looked pretty cool, because it was, half prosthetic, half CG on, the face and stuff, and I was like, it just looked kind of cool. I thought it was a nice design for the creature. The fact that Kara, I thought she was going to kill that thing when she was, holding her palm over its eye. I thought for sure that thing was going to explode. I'm like, she's going to blow, this thing's head is going to explode, but it kind of just flew backwards. I was like, oh, okay, I guess, it can't get that crazy. But I thought for sure that thing was going to explode, because the power was just going a couple of centimeters, and she's just like, nope, and has her hand right on his eye. I thought he was dead, and he just passed out. I was like, okay, well, that wasn't as gruesome as expected. But it goes, after that, it goes right into kind of the main crux of this episode, which is Kara has a bounty on her head. So we have characters, possessing Mon-El, or at least mind controlling them. And so she has a fight sequence there. We have really nothing else. That was just about it. I mean, for it to have been this crazy bounty thing, there are only 2 creatures in the whole episode. There was the one in the beginning, which I believe was a part of drawing her out, and then the one that took over Mon-El. And that was pretty much it. And then they went through this process of course, Mon-El trying to figure out whether or not it was his parents. And it's we get no, and they have a nice little speech where it's we love you, we missed you, we thought you were dead, we thought we were, the last of our people. And it's no, we didn't do this, but, they of course stay on their ship, they stay hovering over the planet, and, they're not allowed to engage in combat, the DEO, because the president, who's Wonder Woman, of course, says that that's not allowed. So they go through the process of Kara having to figure out, what am I going to do? She was super cocky about it. She was like, oh, no big deal. I'll take on whoever comes at me. And I'm like, that's super cocky for her to think she can just take on, villain after villain. That's pretty intense. Also, I know they couldn't do this because there's a lot of stuff happening, but I swear, I wish we could have seen Lobo, because as soon as they mentioned, the bounty was so insanely enormous you could buy a planet, I was like, Lobo would be interested in that sort of bounty. So that's the second time I was like, oh man. They didn't actually reference Lobo, they referenced him in the last season, but this is definitely one of those things, because Lobo is a bounty hunter. I was like, oh man, they could totally do that. I figured they wouldn't. Even early on in the episode, I figured that we weren't going to see Lobo, because that would have been big news if they were like, yeah, we're doing Lobo, and he comes from space, and he tries to hunt down Kara. So, of course, that sadly doesn't end up happening, but he popped in my head. I was like, it would be so cool if they made this a 2-part thing, and in the second part, Lobo came in or something, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. It just, he's a bounty hunter, and I was just like, man, that would be really cool if they did a Lobo thing. But, she's getting hunted down by, a couple of creatures and stuff, and the second one, who is able to read minds and stuff, he gets defeated by John, who, he was pretty cocky too, kind of like Carter. Was like, you can't get in my mind, because I think before John actually came in, he was like, I'm the, greatest telepath, in this room, or something like that. And then, of course, you deal with the Martian Manhunter, and you're nothing. So, of course, they get the answer, and they find out that it really was, Mon-El's mother that did it. And his father didn't even know, which leads to a really crazy sequence towards the end of the episode, because, of course, Mon-El has to give himself up because Kara ends up fighting Mon-El's mom, and she whips out some kryptonite Psi, which was really, really great. I thought it was actually a cool fight sequence. And this was another one of those really big examples of how they've severely changed kryptonite in this show, because Kara at first wasn't affected, and I'm assuming this because we'll just say she had some lead sheaths or whatever. So she's like, I'm not feeling so good, and of course she pulls out the 2 sides, so they start fighting and stuff. And Kara was able to kind of hold her own a little bit, even after she was stabbed in the leg, which that thing was so long, it should have technically pierced straight through her leg. To me, at least, it seemed long enough to do that, but that may have been a bit too gruesome for the show as well. But when she got stabbed in the leg, she should have been down. Like, if this was like a normal Superman thing, she would have been down for the... In fact, she wouldn't have even been fighting. Those were, you know, it's kryptonite. Like, they drop like rocks. As soon, well, ironically, as soon as those rocks come out, they just start dropping. Like, they can't do anything. It's like, oh crap, they back up. And, it, you know, they'll be like 10 feet away. I've seen Superman just drop, and he's like, I can't do anything now, I'm trapped. So, it's really interesting how they change it so much in this show, where, like, she was able to be stabbed, and she should have been done. Like, I don't think she, you know, would have died from it, but that should have at least knocked her out. Like, she got stabbed through with kryptonite, and she's still able to, you know, not only stand, but, like, fight while the kryptonite is, like, basically, you know, not even a foot from her hand, because it's right, you know, she's fighting her opponent, who's still holding 2 kryptonite side. And I was like, well, she's, you know, she's holding her own, she's doing whatever she could. And Mon-El, unfortunately, had to give himself up. So, of course, they go and rescue him, even though that is against the orders of the president. And they end up rescuing him. They end up fighting some characters that are straight out of Star Wars. Like, I swear, for fans of Star Wars, I was with you. I mean, they show the guards, for people who may not be fans of Star Wars. When Mon-El went up and his mom was mad at him, she's like, you know, maybe spending some time in the cell would, you know, help you realize some things. She brings the guards in, and the guard came in like this metal outfit with the staff and this mask. I was like, that is straight out of Star Wars. It's like some Knights of the Old Republic stuff, so some people may not be familiar with it if you only watch the movies. But I was like, that looked like it was straight from Star Wars, and then they did an actual Star Wars reference, which I really loved. But, you know, Mon-El gets in prison, and that's when his dad realizes that his wife is the one who actually set it up. And so, of course, his dad, who is really awesome, he just wanted his son, but it's like, you know, he respected his son's decision, as where his mother was like, no, F that, I want my son back, and she's Kryptonian, so I hate her. And we get a cool fight sequence. You know, John goes in and he beats everybody up, which I really love that sequence, because I was like, how is this going to work? Because I thought it was a dumb idea. I was like, she went in there and, you know, she's just going to end up fighting against 2 kryptonite side. You know, like, what is Supergirl thinking? And then it ends up being John, and I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense now. And of course, Wynn goes to get Mon-El, so they break out of the prison. Kara does still end up going because John actually gets knocked down, so he's kind of trapped. So she does end up going in to save him, and that's when they end up fighting again. And fortunately, Mon-El's dad, who's super cool, he's like, hey, we wanted you to be with us. Sorry, your mom was kind of crazy, and she put that bounty on your girlfriend's life. But if you want to stay on Earth, then that's what you're going to do. So he lets them escape, and seemingly things are kind of okay. And then they cut back to Mon-El's parents. And it got pretty intense. And, you know, of course, you know, they're going back and forth as the king and the queen. It's like, you know, you made a promise to our family. And as soon as she said that, I was like, I mean, clearly she doesn't care about her son. Why would she care about her husband? That's what I honestly started to feel. And she's like, you know, you made a promise to protect our family and keep us together, and you broke that promise today. And I'm like, it's in slow motion. Like, he might as well be dead already, but it's in slow motion right now. And so they hug, and he's like, it's okay, everything's going to be fine. And I think she said, no, it won't, or she said it will, but either way, it was the dramatic end line, and then she stabs him in the stomach, and he dies. So it makes me hate her character even more, because she was just, you know, she didn't really care about her son or anything like that. It was just what she wanted. And clearly, she was, like, insane, because she even killed her own husband because he respected his son, you know, his son's decision to stay on Earth. And it was just nuts. I was like, wow. She just doesn't give a crap. So she kills the king, and now she's going to take over, and she's going to be, you know, kind of the big villain for a little while. I don't know how many episodes it'll last, because they don't really specify what her powers are. Like, she doesn't, you know, she seems to be strong because, of course, she's older, so she's had, you know, better training and stuff like that. So I would assume that she's stronger than, you know, like, she beats up Mon-El during that fight sequence, and she's able to kind of, you know, take out Kara, including, you know, the weapons. So she's a bit stronger than them just based on the fact that she's older and has more training. So I think her and Jean might have to really go at it for it to be a fair fight, or kind of the team up sort of thing. If she gets rid of the kryptonite weapons, Kara will be able to fight her with Mon-El. But it was crazy. She ended up killing her husband, and it's like, I don't know, I guess she just wants to kill everybody and take her son. I don't know where she thinks that's going to lead to. That's always that thing where I try to look at villains when they get to a certain point of insanity where I'm like, okay, so you killed your husband, you killed your son's father, of course, you know, he was the one who was respectful of your son's wishes and everything, so you killed him. that's just another thing that you did that your son's not going to like. And your next step is to go back to your first step, which is kill your son's girlfriend and basically kidnap him and force him to go back home. How does anyone ever think, like, that's how crazy characters get sometimes, where I'm just like, where do they think that's going to work? Like, how do they think that that's just going to be like, it's cool, I got you, and we go home, and it's just all copacetic. Like, you killed a bunch of people I cared about, and you thought it was no big deal. So, I don't know what she expects to happen, but I'm definitely looking forward to where they go with her character next. Of course, we get a little bit more of a reveal for the president. We get to see her after she was mad at Jean. She kind of morphs back into her actual form, and it almost looked like she was like kind of white Martian and then half like Dominator a little bit, like she was kind of a blend of those two species. But she's a shape-shifting creature, and a lot of people, I read up on this a little bit because I didn't know what species she was. A lot of people speculate that she might be a Drillon, which I'm not familiar with like at all. But some people mentioned that it was referenced by Mon-El himself in this episode, the Drillons, and there's a specific character with the Legion of Superheroes who are like from the 3rd century or 30th century that have been referenced, because apparently I didn't notice this, but there is a ring for the Legion of Superheroes that was shown in the former episode. So they do exist within this universe already, and Superman has had contact with them, and there's a pretty big Drillon character with the Legion of Superheroes. So I was like, that's interesting. That it kind of ties in a couple of notes here and there that have been referenced that she could be a Drillon based species. So I thought that was pretty cool. It still isn't much to it. It's just a minute reveal. I mean, they showed us a little bit more than what they showed us before. We saw her like with the glowing eyes before, and it was just like, okay, not really that big of a deal. It's not much. It's just like, hey, here's a little tease. And this was a slightly bigger tease because we saw the shape, but we still don't know what she is or anything like that. So it's kind of almost like the same tease before. But I'm assuming with us seeing it again and just seeing that character in general, it does mean we're getting a little bit closer to what her true plan is and stuff like that. Because of course, with her being president, and she had this whole deal about aliens being treated as equal humans and things like that, or as equal as humans. So it just makes me wonder like what her deal is, because of course she's hiding in plain sight. Is she gonna end up being a villain, or is it just that she's hiding because she's smart? Because it's like, well, I wanted to be president, and no one would have voted for me if I was an alien. So it just makes me wonder if this is gonna end up being a reveal where we find out it's not as bad as we think it is, or will it be even worse than we think it is, where it's like a planetary takeover sort of thing, where it's like I got into the highest office in the United States, and then that allows me to have certain control and know a lot of different secrets for things around the entire planet. So maybe that'll end up being the reveal where it was for her to be the first step for an alien invasion. So we'll get to see how that plays out, but I thought that was pretty cool. The other story in this episode actually revolves around Alex and Maggie running into an old girlfriend of hers, and Alex being like oddly cool about it and wanting to push this sort of weird reconnection sort of thing. And we find out that the reason that the woman didn't actually want to end up going to the dinner, or that the reason she didn't show up, was because Maggie actually cheated on her. And I was like, wow, that's very interesting. And as it was going through the episode, when they were at dinner and Maggie mentions like, she told me I don't deserve to be happy and stuff, the first thing I thought was like, man, that's super harsh. Like, people don't say that unless they're really crazy or they have a legitimate reason. And after she said that, I was like, that's really harsh. And then the first thing that came to mind, I was like, but it wouldn't be that harsh if she was a cheater. Because I've never been cheated on myself, but I always had this weird thing about it. Where it's like, that's kind of always what I felt like. You should just be alone forever because you suck. Like, it's just so messed up to do that. So I was like, man, maybe that's exactly what happened. And of course, it is revealed that that is the case. And so, of course, Alex and Maggie have a very serious conversation about that. And Alex mentioned something that I didn't even catch before, but she mentioned how basically she kind of lies about everything that she kind of dealt with in the past when it comes to her sexuality. Like, she lied about how her parents felt. She lied about, why she, broke up with this woman before. And I can't remember her third example, but it was something else where it was like, you always say that it happened a certain way, but it didn't. And you never really share, it was, with her, especially with her being the character that was able to, help Alex realize who she was sexually. It is interesting that she continuously lies about that part of her personality. Like, she was open about it when she was introduced in the show, but she's constantly lying about elements of that part of her character from the past that we don't actually see. We just have to hear from her. So it was interesting when she mentioned it. I was like, wow, that's actually true. I just never, put that stuff together. I was like, that's true. She always says, basically, it was like the opposite, or she'll say a part of it, like, her not deserving to be happy, but she didn't mention why. And of course, as someone who cheated, I could imagine that you wouldn't just be like, yeah, she said I didn't deserve to be happy because I cheated, because you wouldn't want the person you're with now to freak out that you might cheat on them because you did it before, and that happens for people. It's like, well, you've done it to this person, why wouldn't you do it to me? So I get why she wouldn't, but it was just crazy. I was like, wow, I just wouldn't expect that. She seemed like a cool character. Admittedly, it made me like her a lot less just because it was a part of her character, but they're working through it, and I don't think it's going to happen. That would really suck if they did that, where she did end up cheating on Alex. I would really hate that. So I hope that that doesn't happen, and I don't think it will. But it was interesting that they kind of went through that crazy of a dilemma where it's just, it started off kind of weird in general because, like I said, Alex was like, hey, why don't we go to dinner and stuff like that? And then she went and found the girl and was like, why didn't you show up? It was just, to reconnect, no big deal. And then she learns the truth, and it's like, wow, that's very different. So they're going to work on it, but we will see where it goes, because I do think that that's going to change the relationship a little bit. Especially, not just the cheating thing, but like I said, how Alex mentioned, she was constantly always saying this happened when it was almost the exact opposite. So I am curious where they're going to take that, but really fun episode. I really like what they did with Mon-El's parents. Really sucks to see Beastmaster go. That's all I kept saying the whole episode. I was just like, oh, I killed Beastmaster, or, because I really can't remember that guy's name. All I think of, Beastmaster, Andromeda, that's it. So they killed Beastmaster at the end, which is very unfortunate, but really looking forward to this next episode. And also, I don't think, it doesn't seem to focus too much on, Mon-El's mother or anything like that, but it seems to focus a lot on Kara's secret getting out there, at least to Lena Luthor, and maybe to somebody else. It's hard to say. Some of you guys will get this, but the villain for the next episode is going to be Robbie. So that was pretty cool. He's one of the actors from iZombie, which I really love that show. So it's funny. It's going to be funny to see him, because he's like a super nerd character in iZombie, and now he's going to be like the main villain for an episode. It's going to be really hard to detach those two things, because he's such a cool guy in that other show, and he's like super nerdy and making references to all sorts of stuff. And then I gotta see him as like the big bad villain who's super sinister. It's like, that's gonna be really weird for me to watch that, but looking forward to the next episode. Can't wait to see how they do this with Kara's secret getting out, at least to one person. Maybe it gets out to the villain as well. I think it's Lena as well as the villain, because he seems to have a relationship with her, so they both end up learning Kara's secret that she's Supergirl. So really looking forward to what they do with this next episode. But of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts and least favorite parts. And I definitely want to know where you guys think things are headed next for Mon-El and, his relationship with his mother, and just that whole Daxamite storyline. Is she going to try to destroy the planet because of that? What is going to happen here? Because she's nuts. So it's hard to say. Like, maybe she will do the bounty thing. Maybe they will bring in Lobo. I haven't heard that news. I feel like that would have been announced a long time ago. I don't know. That's such a big thing. I don't know if they would even choose to keep that secret, because they'd want people to watch the episode with Lobo. So I don't think we're going to get it. I would love to see that. If she like redid the bounty and then we had a whole Lobo episode, as long as they did them right, I'd be super happy with that. That'd be really cool. But we'll love to know where you guys think it's headed for Mon-El's character, and even if you have any theories on how it might actually end with his mother. Like, is he gonna have to kill her? Are they gonna imprison her? What's gonna happen there? We'd love to know your theories on that. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.